Curious. You would make an excellent cephalon, Tenno.
Welcome to Cephalon Squared, a Warframe community and podcast. Join the community at Cephalon Squared on Twitter and Facebook, or send us a voice message via the Anchor app. Now, sit back and enjoy the show. Here are your Cephalons, Greg and Lucas.
G'day and welcome to episode 9 of Cephalon Squared. I am your host, Cephalon Greg, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Cephalon Lucas. How are you this evening, sir?
Good, mate. Good, mate. How's yourself?
I am very good. It is a Sunday evening, as always. It's been a good weekend. It's especially been a good weekend because there's been a few things, particularly for us in console land, but even the PC guys and gals got some updates during the week, as well as Devstream 116. So we should probably just get right on into the podcast. Are you ready, Lucas?
Oh, I am. There's a lot to talk about today.
Oh yeah, there is. All right, news. So the Neza rework was released during the week, somewhat before anyone really expected. No one, I don't think it was announced that he was going to come out during the week. He just suddenly got released alongside his deluxe skin, which is gorgeous.
Yes, it definitely is. It turned out a hell of a lot better than I was actually expecting. So I had high expectations for it to begin with, but the end result has actually just blown me away. Yeah,
man, it looks so good. And I've heard nothing but good things about the rework. So from Whooshi and a couple of the other people in our Discord, there have been nothing but good things. All of the YouTubers and other content creators are saying very good things about the Nezha rework. So I'm very keen for that to come to console. Snake Demon also in our Discord was mentioning that he, particularly, I think it's a he, excuse me, is a Nezha main and is keen to, because that Snake Demon plays on Xbox, waiting for that to come on console as well. So I'm really looking forward to it because Nezha has always been fun. Who doesn't like running around and leaving fire behind them? So, yeah, I think that's cool. Anyway.
And teleport chakrams. You can't really go wrong with teleporting chakrams either.
Exactly. Hula hoops. Love his hula hoops.
Yes.
Alrighty, so the Nezha rework also came with a Revenant rework, which also wasn't terribly expected. I guess it was wanted because he wasn't perfect. And, one of the things that is coming up later in this news section is that he just did come to console, and I can see why Revenant isn't absolutely perfect when he first came out, but there are some changes to Revenant. Did you want to take a look at them, Lucas?
Yeah, I can do that. So first off, first ability, they felt as if his slaves didn't really have a lot going for them. They didn't really think that they were up to snuff with the rest of the gameplay. So they've been given an extra little boost in death, where after they have been turned into laser pillars of doom, which already is an amazing concept, they also then now create homing projectiles, much like that of the Vonvalist or the Eidolon himself. So amazing. This is a great change. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fantastic. Also, if these laser towers are hit by Dance Macabre, it creates a bit of an explosion. So fantastic. That is probably quite easily now the best first ability in the game.
It's pretty good.
Create crowd control slaves that spread their disease, and when they die, they become laser pillar towers to just wreck everything. It's great. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Moving on to his second ability, Mesmer Skin. They have lowered they've actually recharged the Mesmer Skin. You can now recharge the Mesmer Skin. Sorry, I can't really talk right now. So that's fantastic. English is very hard. So basically now, if you've got it cast, you're missing a couple charges, and you just want to have that little bit of extra security, you can recast it and refresh the charges. So fantastic change there.
Reeve.
Reeve, lowered energy costs and full immunity while reaving. Fantastic. And if you zap or zip through some of your allies, then it also gives them a bit of a small buff. I don't know exactly the details of this small buff, but a buff is a buff.
Yeah.
It's great.
Exactly.
Any increase is fantastic.
Yeah.
And no real changes to Dance Macabre except for the fact that it has a little bit more synergy with the first ability. So synergy is awesome. This is great. I'm looking forward to these changes.
Well, I think they also reduced the energy cost of using Reeve while in Dance Macabre, whatever.
Yes.
So yeah, they've done that as well. Excuse me, I just knocked my microphone. Yeah, so that's another thing. So it's all good things for Revenant. I'm looking forward to it. We will talk about Revenant in just a second, so I'll move on. In that update, there was also an update to the way that Oxium drops. So Oxium is a known issue in terms of the ability to farm for it and how long it can take to farm for it, and certain objects need shitloads of it, and it's a pain in the ass. It's as simple as that. So Oxium Ospreys will start to spawn earlier in endless missions. So they used to only start to spawn after, say, level 5 of defense missions, the 5th wave. Now they'll start to spawn within the first 5 waves, and they'll spawn in higher numbers at higher wave levels as well. So that is a good thing. Drop more Oxium. I don't think it's enough personally, but hey, until we've actually played it and tested it out, sometimes playing through IO on Jupiter, for example, you can get a few hundred, depending on how many waves you do, of course. But if we can get 1,000 Oxium or something by spending 20 minutes in IO, I think that's worthwhile.
Yeah. Well, yeah, as I just finished saying about Revenant's Reeve, it increases an increase. It's fantastic.
Yeah, can't complain. But if the increase doesn't result in anything worthwhile, then it's an attempt, and I think they're watching it as well, DE. So if it doesn't work out, they will fix it. They'll continue to fix it because they know it's a problem. There was also a small Rhino change that came in. There was a whole bunch of things, really. This is an update. We can't go over everything, but the only other thing that was of real note was a Rhino change. I think what it was they added a counter to his iron skin so that you can now see exactly where it's at without having to look at the tiny little letters underneath the ability. So was that all it was, Lucas?
Yeah, that's pretty much all it was. It's just doing what they've done with a few other frames like Sarah and Neja now, and just giving them like the Nidus style counter, which I think is great. It's fantastic that you now actually have this. Hopefully next they'll do it for Frost Snow Globe.
Yeah, true. Actually, good point. And that's like you said, again, small change, but a wanted change and a necessary change, and that's a good thing. Yep. All right, so we'll move quickly on to this next one because we'll probably spend a couple of minutes on it. So as we mentioned, console finally has Revenant and Phantasma and Frame Fighter and all those other wonderful things that came with the big console update this week. It was a massive update on PS4. If you're a PS4 players like us, it was a bit of a pain in the ass, but not too much. Xbox didn't have this problem, of course, because I learned during the week it actually has to do with the way that PS4 updates work. So it wasn't actually a remaster of the graphics or the whatever. The way that PS4 updates work is basically they work additively. So they have to keep adding onto the base game until they decide to remaster it and rework it, and then they can start again, and the update will grow every time. So it's a bit of a pain in the ass for them, I see. But yeah, so that's why it happened to PS4 players and not to anyone else. But anyway, Revenant, everything came out this week. I'll have a quick go over of what I thought of Revenant and Phantasma, and then I'll pass it over to you, Lucas. Okay, I haven't played a hell of a lot of Revenant just yet. I did unlock him. I went through the quest and I farmed for him, and actually it was pretty good. It only took me about 2 hours, probably. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass because there's certain things you have to do at night. So you have to wait for night on Cetus, but it wasn't that bad. I got to get all the pieces, and I have now built him, and yeah, I have him. So I've only leveled him up to about 12 or 13, which means that most of his abilities are still in their first rank, and they're not very powerful. They don't do much as yet. I don't find that any Warframe really starts to feel good until you hit the level 20s. So I can't really speak as to how good he feels, but his light show, laser fingers, is pretty fucking awesome, to be honest. And he's just a fun dude to use. So I'm waiting for these changes, which will make him even more fun. But he was pretty good. I liked making some minions, and Lucas showed me that you can actually make some minions and kill them all and block off certain areas by making a little fire wall or a laser wall, which is really good. It doesn't last very long, but it worked. Phantasma is probably going to be one of my favorite weapons. I thought it was ugly because it looks a bit like a hammerhead shark, but having used it now, it's super powerful. And its secondary, its alternate fire, is amazing. So the primary fire is a little bit short range, but if you use the alternate fire for long distance enemies, you're going to blow those dudes up. And it's really fun. One of our guys in our clan, Semi, mentioned that it feels a bit like a cross between the Ignis and the Phage, and he's probably right, but it's got a little bit of the Corinth alternate fire thrown in for good measure. It's just a lot of fun to use. What were your thoughts, Lucas? Did you also spend the time to farm for him because he only takes 2 hours, or did you do something else to acquire him?
Oh God, no! I couldn't be bothered. I just thought, stuff it. I jumped on after the update, and I saw that he was in the market, and then I saw I had a 50% off coupon that was only going to last another hour. So I thought, you know what, stuff it. I'm going to buy him. I'm just going to get him straight up and start doing my fashion framing with him, because I got to start with fashion frame first.
Yeah, I was having a dig. I knew you bought him.
Either. Okay, so aesthetically, he's amazing.
He does.
I'm so happy with how they made his design. It looks fantastic. Gameplay wise, I don't like his what is it? His Mesmer skin. At the moment, Mesmer skin is incredibly buggy. I cast it. It gave me its few charges that it gives when you're at level 1 with it. And the second those charges disappeared, the Mesmer skin was still showing as an active thing. So I had basically smoke all over my screen, and I couldn't really see properly. It was a pain in the ass. So I'm hoping that this changes, because that was shit.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's shit. I can't stand the fact that it hinders my sight. First ability is fantastic, as I've already mentioned. I'm a big fan of slavery with the Grineer and enemies.
Big fan of slavery. Okay.
Slaving of the enemies. I'm just going to make sure I'm clear with this. I'm very clear with this. I'm not for slavery unless it's the enemy.
Got it.
I'm probably just digging myself a bigger hole.
I just thought that was funny. Anyway, continue.
And yeah, as I pointed out to Greg, especially with the infested, this makes it really useful ability, using it against infested in survivals, and just any mission where you have mass amounts of infested running at you, because you infect one guy, he infects his friends. If he infects one of the exploding guys, he blows up, kills them all, and then they all leave a wall of pillars. So
it is pretty cool.
It's
pretty cool.
It's the easiest pillar creating there is. Use this guy against infested. You won't go wrong.
Exactly. What about Phantasma?
Phantasma. Whew. Okay. I was not expecting it to be as fun as it is. I'm usually not that big into grenade-like weapons. considering the secondary fire is very grenade-like. But I'll make an exception with this one because it does have the homing missile thing as well. So it's an energy grenade launcher that disperses into micro magic missiles.
Exactly. Phantasma is fantastic. Sorry.
Oh yeah, that's terrible. That's terrible. That apology not accepted. That was terrible. The initial fire feels a bit lackluster, a little bit boring. So I'm definitely going to be using the secondary fire a hell of a lot more. But so far, I'm finding it to be an amazing weapon, and I think I may even try and get myself a Riven for it.
Yeah, give it a shot. Why not? May as well.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's got a very high bloody status chance right from the get-go. It's 37%.
Oh, yeah.
It's fantastic. Anyway, cool. Moving on. Frame Fighter. Okay. Neither of us had thought in advance to maybe, build up our Cephalon Samaris standing, even though we knew it came out on PC 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. So we actually weren't ready to just go and buy the Ludoplex, which is a strange name, when it first came out. So we had to do some farming. Didn't take us too long, 4 or 5 missions, and we had what we needed. So we bought it. We popped it in our ship. We had a few rounds against each other, and I guess initial thoughts are, on one hand, it's a lot of fun. It's just stupid fun to beat your mates up. It doesn't have a lot of long-term replayability because it's very glitchy.
Oh yeah.
There's the contact between characters is very, very poor. The movement controls is extremely fiddly. I don't know. I just don't know. That's all I can say. It was very painful, but once you got a hang of it, it's fun and all that. But it's really simple. It's really glitchy. It's a bit funny, but it looks great, and it's fun to be able to use your Warframes and use any of your fashion frames that you've got on them and things like that. I don't know if anyone saw the Gundam Rhino that I just shared, but I want to use that now in Frame Fighter just to see what it looks like. But the pain in the ass thing is I have to go find the fragments now. I can't be bothered, and it's going to take ages. And when I finally find them, am I gonna want to go back into Frame Fighter? Part of me hopes that they're going to fix it up and make it into something more than it is, but I know that it's not going to. It's just going to be what it is, and that's that. And I'm still pretty content with that. Thoughts?
Well, I'm pretty much there with you on it. I think it's good for 10 to 20 minutes fun, maybe once a month.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I don't really see it being a serious part for Warframe. So, I mean, I'm with you. I've seen your Gundam Rhino, and I kind of want to pitch your Gundam Rhino against my Gundam Zephyr, but as you said, too much farming and trying to find those pesky little data blocks.
Yeah, and when I find them, I'm not going to go into my Ludoplex just to see who I unlocked. I can't be bothered.
Yeah.
Like you said, maybe once a month I'll jump in there and see who's unlocked and give them a shot and move on. Anyway, so that was our thoughts on the update. Now that we've finally had a chance to play with them, of course, we'll probably take a look at some of these things again later on down the track, but initial thoughts are over. Anyway, before we move on to the discussion of the Devstream, because that is going to be quite a lengthy topic, and we're already 20 minutes in, I still thought I wanted to just go over, give you a reminder that our competition is still running. There is 1 week left, so there are a few entries that have gone in. We will have a winner on each platform, because we do have people who have entered across all platforms, but there's still a really good chance that you could win. So enter the competition. There's 1 week left. 1 winner per platform. The winners will be announced next episode. If you want a reminder of what it is, basically, we will gift you in-game with any weapon or Warframe that can be purchased from the in-game market. So that's non-prime stuff, but that means Something like Atlas, which is a pain in the ass to get if you hate Archwing especially. We could gift you Atlas, or we could gift you the Hammer if your clan hasn't done the research for the Hammer. Something like that. It's not a massive prize, but it can help you out and it can get you a pretty cool weapon, especially if you're low level and you're not at the mastery rank required for that weapon. If we buy it for you, you can use it. So that's a good thing. How do you win? All you have to do is share on Twitter. So retweet one of our things, or share something on Facebook. As long as we know and we see you doing it, that is an entry into the competition. So there's 1 week left. Get out there. Just retweet something or reshare something on Facebook. It's pretty easy. It doesn't hurt, and you might win something. So
yeah, make sure you tag us so that we can actually see it popping up.
Yeah, well, if you retweet, we'll see it anyway. It'll come in our feed, but I'm not sure how things really work with Facebook, whether or not they notify you when people share things. So yeah, if you copy us on there, we will see it definitely.
Yeah. You got to be in it to win it.
Exactly. And winners announced next episode, which will be the big episode 10. Yay!
So, episode 10 already.
Yes, it has gone fast. It has gone fast. All right. Devstream 116, let's do this. If you were waiting for news on Warframe and Nintendo Switch, you no longer need to wait on news because it's coming on November 20th. So that is now only 2 months away, just a little bit over 2 months away at the time of recording. And it's there's no information as to whether or not you can transfer your accounts. So I have seen people saying, oh, no, they've confirmed it. But the reality is they haven't confirmed anything. They've confirmed what they want to do, but none of this is confirmed. So we will keep on top of it for you. And as soon as we know 100% whether or not you can transfer or whether or not you can sync or what the case is going to be, we'll let you know. But I, for one, am looking forward to the Switch. I love my Switch, and it's only going to get better and better and better, and I can't wait to play Warframe on it. You don't have a Switch, do you, Lucas?
I do not. I want a Switch, but I don't have one yet.
There's so many good games coming to it. Maybe you should think about it.
Yeah, maybe wait for Christmas specials.
The prices go up at Christmas. After Christmas.
After Christmas. Boxing Day.
All right. So, yes, Boxing Day is always good if you can get into the stores. The Warframe soundtrack, of course, as we mentioned last week, is on Spotify, but it's also available on other streaming platforms now, Google Play and iTunes Music, Apple Music, whatever it's called. So it's everywhere. Go listen to it. The next thing they announced is that there will be some new operator hair coming. So if you've been looking at your operator and thinking, God, that hair looks shit, because most of them do, let's be honest, most of the hairstyles are pretty bad, in my opinion. I expect to have some photos on the Discord and on Facebook proving me wrong. But please do, because when I look at my dude looks all right. Actually, I've created a young female operator. She looks all right. But yeah, some of them just look terrible. So what they've shown looks pretty good. You didn't get to see it, did you, Lucas? So
I unfortunately did not. I had to leave the room at that point in time.
Go look up some pictures, because some of the options they've got that are coming look a hell of a lot better. So we'll see. They are expecting to release it prior to Christmas because there's a little bit more work to go into it. They actually want to release multiple color tones so that you can have different colors in your hair as well. So because of that may cause a little bit of a delay, but it'll definitely be by Christmas, they said. Moving on, this was a surprise. They've been showing off so many different deluxe skins, and they've just shown off the Equinox deluxe concept. So a while back, maybe 3-4 months ago, they showed the Nezha concept, and now we've got Nezha 3-4 months later. So you can imagine that maybe by the end of the year we might see Equinox deluxe entering the game. A gentleman by the name of Eric Vedder did this concept, and the day form is reminiscent of a samurai angel. The night form is a demon ninja, and it looks amazing. What are your thoughts, Lucas?
I'm a big fan of Equinox already. I already quite enjoy the aesthetic, but I think maybe what makes me want to play more. I'm looking forward to it. It looks amazing. The fashion frame capabilities behind this will be insane.
Yeah.
So bring it on.
Yeah, bloody oath. I mean, for me, I'm not the same as you. I don't like the aesthetic of the existing one. I like the idea of having a different form, but I just can't stand the aesthetic. That's just me. I, have strong opinions. Oh, but this bloody deluxe looks glorious. Bring it soon. Next, there was a little bit of a teaser as to what's coming to the PS4 with Fortuna. So if you have a PS4, you know that you can have a theme in the background. So it can be an image of a game. Some of them can be 3D. Some of them can be animated. There can be music assigned, etc. So with Fortuna, they have designed a full 3D animated theme that also plays the "We All Live Together" music over and over and over and over again. They're also working on some custom icons, so I don't know. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. Yep. I think it will be a good change up from my Final Fantasy 14 background that I'm currently using.
I actually did when I first fell in love with Warframe. I chose the old Warframe theme, and I'm still using that bad boy to this day. So I'm looking forward to the Fortuna one, so I can stick to the Warframe theme and have a better looking PS4 theme. Anyway, so that's coming. Yay us. There was also a quick note that operators will also have customization loadouts for clothing. This is clothing only, so it's not for face and things like that. But if you wanted to have different options for different days of the week, whatever the hell you want to have different looks for your operator for, I don't know. Makes sense for Warframes to me. Less sense for operators.
Well, you never see the operators have a shower, so those clothes need to go in the laundry.
Yes, they do. I guess that's true. Thank you, Lucas. Comedy King. What was next? You threw me off track with your hilarity. Chroma Prime has been confirmed. He does look a hell of a lot better than the melted Godzilla toy that he is in his standard form. I'm still not massively impressed by the Prime, but it looks a lot better than his standard version, so I'll give him that. Did you like what the looks are?
I do like the looks. It seems very plain, but it's definitely an improvement from the normal, as you said, melted Godzilla look.
Mm-hmm.
I still have to say that the deluxe skin is probably better though.
Yeah, you're right.
But he does look gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean the standard skin has like flabby old teacher arms as well. I just can't stand it. But yeah, he looks pretty good, and he's coming with Rubico Prime, yes, and Gram Prime, fantastic. I think Gram Prime is going to be a contender for Galatine Prime to be one of the best melee weapons in the game. Rubico Prime will definitely be a contender against Vectus Prime. I was hoping they were going to clean up that stupid freaking scope they've got for it, because it's just a dot in the center of the screen. But no, that's all they've got. So I guess I'll have to live with it, and maybe my old eyes will be able to focus on that dot better. But you looking forward to either of these?
I'm definitely looking forward to the Gram. For me, the Gram, like the original Gram, was one of my favorite weapons when I first started playing. So this is going to be a bit of a nostalgic weapon for me. And I totally agree. It will be a pretty high contender for the Galatine, against the Galatine Prime for best heavy second melee weapon. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be amazing. Rubico, while I will admit the Rubico is a very powerful weapon, I don't like it because of the fact that it has a really shit scope, like you've mentioned. Give me my fancy scope like the Vectus Prime. It's clear to see where you're aiming at. Not so clear with the Rubico, unfortunately. So that's kind of a bit of a buzzkill for me. but I'll still give it a shot.
Yeah, definitely. I will love it and hug it and squeeze it and call it, I don't know, George. So that's the primes. We don't know exactly when they're coming, but hey, we know when Limbo Prime's leaving, so we've got a pretty good idea. Within the next couple of weeks, we will be seeing those primes released, and I'm looking forward to it. Although I'm not going to lay out the cash, not this time. The Vent Kids. So the next thing we did was we went to Fortuna. They showed us where the Vent Kids are. They are now a full faction. And when you go in there, you can see some of the art on the walls. This artwork is used when you do tricks. They pop up on the screen, and the artwork is also used as art that you can put on your K-Drive deck, which is super cool because it's very much 80s or 90s styled skateboard artwork designs. It looks pretty funny. I like it. I want it pretty bad.
Yeah, it does look really good. You know, I'm all about my customization. So if they were to turn around and say that you can customize the base of the board, you know, take a bit of a snippet from this art and a bit of snippet from this one and create your own, that would be fantastic. But from what we've seen so far, it's still very impressive, and they are still quite aesthetically pleasing. So
yeah, I'm looking.
I'm happy with that.
And something I haven't really mentioned, I don't think you know this, Lucas, is back in the 90s, I was actually a bit of a skateboard tragic. I used to skate a lot. Well, not a lot, but I skated a bit. Cracked my head open on a half pipe. I used to love skating. It was good. Now I'm just old.
It's okay. It's okay. About 3-4 years ago, I decided, hey, let's try longboard skating. I still have my longboard. I did I did a custom job on the grip, and you know, bought all customized pieces for the board, and took it out a couple of times. But I'm no good when there's no clear way to stop a vehicle. So give me a bike. Give me a bike or scooter any day where there's actually brakes and handles. But I gave it a shot. Not my thing. Maybe in video games, it's otherwise.
Yeah, longboards are alright. I used to have a couple of longboards when I lived in Tokyo. They were cool, and I was alright with stopping on them. I don't know, maybe just because I was used to skating. But anyway, we got way off track. So with the Event Kids, there are a number of ways of getting standing. So you can get it by doing tricks while you're out and about in Fortuna, probably while you're out and about in on the plains as well, I would imagine. But we'll see. We'll find out for that.
Fingers crossed.
But also, what was that?
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yes. Sorry, it sort of sounded like a robot. But the cool thing that was announced, and we kind of knew this, is that there's going to be races. So they're not necessarily going to be races against another player. They're just going to be gated or time-based races.
They're time trials.
Yeah, they're time trials, exactly. So your tricks get scored. There's a little bit of UI. Like I said, the artwork pops up on the screen. They called one trick the floppy grandmother. I think that was just a placeholder because it kept coming up regardless of what they did. Still made me laugh, which is why I wanted to mention it. They're planning for about approximately 20 races at launch across all of Fortuna, the Old Vallis, I should say, because Fortuna is the name of the town. So across the Old Vallis, there'll be 20 races at launch, and every day there'll be a new daily time trial based on one of those races that you can do for standing. They are aiming to have leaderboards, but they may not be available at launch. They may not be available ever. Who knows? But they are planning for it. And it just sounds cool. From my perspective, that's one standing daily thing that I'm actually interested in doing because it sounds a bit of fun. It looked fun too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely, especially seeing as you're looking at the environment, just how many parts of the environment you can do tricks off. Like they had the vine-like roots coming out of the ground and kind of twisting around, and the fact that you can actually use them to do in stupidly and crazy grinds. So yeah,
it looks pretty cool.
The world is your skate park.
Yeah, and it can only get better. And if we were impressed at this stage, it's going to get even more fun, and I can't wait.
can't forget the fact now that they've actually fixed it, and you can actually use the K drive on water.
Yeah, they did mention. I don't know why that's such a big deal. I don't know why they've mentioned and they got all excited about it. And you're obviously excited. Why are you excited about it? Explain to me.
Because now it means if you go over water, you don't explode.
Yeah, you could just go around the water though. I just don't understand.
Yeah, it's taking a shortcut, right? It's the whole premise of taking a shortcut.
Fair enough. Maybe I'm just being a grumpy grandpa again. Grumpy grandpa. Maybe that'll be another tricky name. Yeah, fair enough. That's a good thing. You can go on water. Yay! The next thing they showed off was that they showed off the sound team making some of the sounds for the K drive. So Dean, one of the guys at DE, has a Tesla, jealous, and they used his car to make some of the sounds for the K drive, which is pretty cool. Sounds really cool. So it's interesting that it was actually a car that they used to make the K drive, and they had a bunch of tools and they were banging shit together to make the music for the Vent Kids. And when they put it all together, it blew my mind.
Yeah, you just listen to it in each increment to begin with, and you sit there going, "How the hell is this musical?" There's, it's a mess. Mm-hmm. It's an absolute mess. And then at the end, they just mushed it all together, played all the tracks at the same time, and it was amazing. I'm actually really looking forward to to this music.
Yeah, it was amazing. So yeah, kudos to the sound team. They also showed off the new gear wheel and the emote wheel in practice and in the game, and it looked really good. Like I already thought that it was pretty good, but I thought it might be a bit fiddly as well. But no, it looks like they've really done a good job of it.
Very mesmerizing.
Yeah.
Very mesmerizing.
Yeah, it looks like it's actually going to be pretty useful as well. But I did notice that when they were doing the Echo Lure a little bit later, Rebecca had to choose the tranquilizer gun before she could choose the Echo Lure. So you still have different levels of the gear wheel as well, which is a little bit annoying.
A little bit. I mean, I can see why they would do that. I mean, it's like a subset kind of thing, like they did with the fishing. I think it would be annoying if they put all of the fishing stuff in that one base wheel.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think with what they're trying to do with the trank darts and whatnot is that they will eventually add more Echo Lure types, because they did say that the something about different Echo Lures for different species.
Yeah, well, so it looked like there were two when she was choosing it from the wheel. It looked like she was choosing between two, so it's hard to say.
Yeah.
So we shall see, I guess.
Yeah. And it should be good.
It's bound to be. Everything about Fortuna looks amazing.
Oh yeah.
Fanboys. Ooh. So the next thing that they demoed on the Devstream was going into some of the Corpus bases. So there's a bunch of bases around the Orb Vallis, and to my knowledge, all of them can be entered. So at least some of them can. And they actually showed going into a couple of different bases. The first one they showed was a research base, and wow. It looked huge. It looked huge, and I mean, so later on, I don't think you were. I think you switched off at the end. But they also visited a spaceport, which apparently was several times larger than the research facility. So yeah, it was amazingly huge, and some of the stuff inside there was really cool. There was apparently there was a bit of a spoiler. They went into a room where it looked like they were doing an autopsy on a sentient or something like that. Is that what you thought it looked like, Lucas?
That's exactly what it looked like to me.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it looked like, and Steve made quite a point that Reb should exit that room as quick as possible. So I'm quite intrigued about this. This is This is interesting. A concept that I didn't think would actually arise: the corpus doing experiments on the sentience. So
Yes,
that changes a lot of things.
it'd be interesting to see where that goes. Yeah,
I just had a brainstorm just then. So looking at planes of Eidolon, we got the Eidolons, and they're a sentient subspecies, I guess you could really say. So what if the Orb Mothers were actually a corpus-infused sentient subspecies? Ooh.
could be. They could be, something that came out of their experiments with the sentience.
Or I could just be reading too much into it.
Yeah, it's hard to say at this stage. We don't know enough about the orb mothers really, so it's possible. It's entirely possible. But yeah, definitely something corpus and sentient related is going to come out of it. So if it's not the big giant spiders, it'll be something else.
Yeah.
So that'll be super cool. But there's not much we can really say about the bases. They looked good. They were big. They were wide open spaces, plenty of places to jump around and do stuff. But yeah, until we're actually
better than they were better than the Plains of Eidolon underground caverns.
Anything can be better than those. I mean, the underground caves are good. I'm glad they're there, but they're nothing to write home about.
No, they could have been better.
Yeah. Anyway, related to this, and while they were trying to restart the Devstream, what am I looking at? The development. The game that they were playing that was a development. Freaking, I can't even.
The dev build.
Thank you.
The dev build.
Thank God for Lucas. My brain just stopped mid-sentence. The dev build. Well, they were reloading the dev build because some shit fucked up. They showed off some images. So they showed off some images of the Gas City rework. And the way they showed it off was amazing. So they took the old pictures and they took a new picture.
The current picture.
Well, the current, soon to be old, existing Gas City and the rework of the same tile, and they had them side by side, and the difference was astounding. Not just in the design, but in the lighting, in everything. It was amazing. The amount of depth to it, the size.
It was amazing. You look at one and you could probably see like 5 meters through a door. You look at the newer one and you could see like 30 to 40 meters through the door.
Yeah.
So amazing.
It's really cool. It's hard to talk about some of this stuff without seeing it, because it really has to be seen to be believed. But it's a massive rework, and as Steve said during the dev stream, a lot of these tiles were actually created at the very start of the game, so they're 4 or 5 years old. So they needed to be updated, and wow, bring it. There will be some lore stuff that's coming with it, which is interesting. I don't know how that's going to work, but there must be a couple of quests or something that's going to be related, unless there's just scannable items or something like that.
Possibly something. And with the new enemy type that they've mentioned will be in it. They haven't been any specifics, but they have mentioned that there will be new enemy types. So it's to be lore based around them.
Yeah. Well, while they were jumping around the corpus bases, there were clearly new enemy types in there, but of course those corpus bases weren't necessarily the Gas City rework. So it is hard to say, but I'm looking forward to it. But one thing they did mention in regards to the rework is that it's not far away, and they sort of danced around it a little bit, because Rebecca Ford then said to Jeff, or one of the other guys, I can't remember who it was she mentioned it to, but she said, "Is it part of the next mainline release?" And he said yes. And then they've sort of danced around that. So the next mainline release, I would imagine, is going to be Fortuna. And if they did mention that it's not far away and that's part of the next mainline release, then maybe Fortuna's not far away either. But then again, we are sort of expecting Fortuna for October, and October's not far away either. So I think we're all on track for maybe a late October PC release for Fortuna. Fingers crossed. We shall see. But anyway, that's us sort of looking into some of the things that were mentioned that, maybe we're looking into them a little bit more than we should, but that's my job. All right. The next thing they did pretty much took over the rest of the bloody stream. They wanted to demo the Echo Lure. So they basically said, all right, last time we had it all set up and it was all planned out, but we want to show you how you can just decide, I'm going to start looking for a little critter and I'm going to capture him anytime while you're playing. Unfortunately for the team, it didn't quite work. I think it was a learning experience for them because they learned that some of the flowers in the environment was the same color as the
footprint glow.
The glow of the footprints. So yeah, some of those things just didn't really work for them. It took a long time for Reb to find anything. In fact, it probably took over 45 minutes.
Half hour. Yeah, 45 hour. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was the last hour of the stream, and the stream went for an hour and a half this time. But they did sort of break it up. So she spent about 15 minutes looking for it. They gave up. They went and visited the spaceport. They did a couple of other things. They gave up, went back and forth. One thing I can say is that when it actually finally works, because it is still a work in progress, it's not going to be like this when it finally comes out. It's going to be much easier for us, the players, hopefully. But when it finally comes out, it looks like it's going to be really engrossing because just the fact that when they found something, everything went silent and you use the echo lure and you're listening and waiting to see if you can hear anything. And it was just kind of stressful and cool, and it was really engrossing. And I think it's going to be really fun when it works. So I'm looking forward to that. Did you get anything out of it, Lucas? I know you didn't watch the whole thing, but
no, I agree. It will definitely be a very the way I'm looking at it is that it's I've always kind of wanted something like a game mechanic like this where you just go, in a sense, hunting, humane hunting to preserve wildlife. And this is going to be really, as you said, engrossing. It's just going to take so much of my time because I like that slow, steady gameplay that's very strategic, and you have to find the clues and you have to follow the tracks and mimic the right sounds. It's like a elongated puzzle game that kind of mimics something from the real world.
Yeah, it's funny. Usually, I don't like that kind of thing. I'm somewhat of an impatient person. I don't like stealth games. I hate Metal Gear Solid, for example. Don't at me. But this looks fun, and I reckon if I can spend 5 or 10 minutes out of my day and just go catch an animal and then go off and start shooting corpus in the head again, I'd love it. Just like I like spending 5 or 10 minutes fishing when I go to the plains.
Yeah, I actually think this might be better than the fishing. No, sorry, no. This will be better than the fishing.
Probably will be. Yeah, no, I agree. So, yeah, I'm pretty keen to see that. They did finally find the poop in the video, and they did finally catch the little critter, who was a cute little armadillo critter. So I'm looking forward to catching those dudes and seeing what it gets me, basically. So we shall see. So one of the other things that they did show off in between all the back and forth of trying to demo that conservation hunting was Melee 3.0. So they had planned to show off more of Melee 3.0, particularly what they were going to be doing with channeling and all that kind of thing. However, during the week, they decided to do another weapon change for Melee 3.0 that in my opinion, is going to really change things up even more than the rest of Melee 3.0. I think this is probably the best thing that's coming to Melee 3.0, so let me just tell you about it. It's going to be a quick weapon change. So at the moment, if you're shooting your weapon, pow, 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 and then you press your quick melee button, circle on the PS4, E on PC, whatever the hell the button is on Xbox. Sorry, Xbox people. You just whip your weapon out quickly and you hit, but you're still holding your main weapon. If you want to change to your melee weapon and use your proper stance and use your proper combos, you have to hold down a button, at least on the PlayStation, to change to your melee weapon. And I thought that was really clunky and a massive pain in the ass. Now, if you press the quick melee button, you change to melee. If you shoot again with your weapon, you change immediately back to shooting with your weapons, whatever the last weapon was you were using. It's so much of a more intuitive change. And it just
It's a bit more fluid of a change. It just flows.
far more
And
fun. And it now allows you to put melee combos directly into your shooting. So you can mix it up as you're going. You know, shoot them in the head a couple of times, take a couple of swings with your weapon, and then do a heavy attack. All of that's fantastic.
yeah,
So it is a massive change, and as a result of that, it's sort of broken the way that Melee 3.0 is working. So they had to put it on hold for this week, and they'll talk about it at a later date. But you know, everything they're doing for Melee 3.0 sounds like the right way forward. So just keep cooking, Digital Extremes. Keep cooking, make it work even better.
take your time with it. We don't need it now. We want it now, but we don't need it now. We need it when it's working properly.
Yeah, exactly, because you know all these changes just sound like they're going to be great, and the way it is now, it's already working. It's working just fine. It's going to work even better. So, yay! They did also decide to go looking for one of the big mothers, the big orb spiders. They went for a bit of a search and they found one, a giant one that they called the Profit Taker Orb. Now, this dude was surrounded by an impenetrable storm. In that storm, there were little tornadoes, there was electricity, there was all sorts of stuff. And apparently, you need to find a way to get through the storm and to shut down the storm, I believe, in order to be able to cause damage. So it just goes to show that there are going to be different orb mother types, and each of those types are going to have different mechanics that you need to be aware of when you're trying to take them down. So they didn't really do anything. They rode under it on the K drive and had a bit of a look at it and looked at the storm. And that was just super cool. You missed that as well, Lucas, because you thought they were going to just hunt.
Yeah, and I did get up ridiculously early and to watch this dev stream, and I did start getting a bit sleepy towards the end, so I just went back to bed, unfortunately. So I missed it. But no, that sounds amazing. I actually like the idea of having multiple raid bosses on an open map.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds really sick. I can't wait. And just keep that in mind, dear listeners, what we do for you. So that dev stream in Australia is actually on at 4 a.m. So Lucas got up bright and early to watch that. I did not. On the other hand, I waited and watched a stream at a later date, a later time, I should say. But yeah, 4 a.m. for us here in Australia. And if you don't believe Australia exists, you're wrong. Just throwing that out there. So that was pretty much it. So there was meant to be more. There was quite a lot that they showed anyway. You know, a lot of little bits and pieces. The main things really were the tricks and the K drive stuff. And a lot of just sort of going around Venus and looking at the Orb Vallis and seeing different things. So it was all really cool, but that was the end of the dev stream. Next dev stream apparently will have some members of the sound team, so I don't know if it's going to be a sound-focused dev stream, but we will see in about 2 weeks. Anything you wanted to mention about the dev stream before we move on?
Nope, we pretty much covered everything.
Bonza.
So no, I think we're good to move on.
Alrighty. Beginner topic. So, the beginner topic for this week, one of our friends asked us during the week if we have done a how-to for beginners or a beginner's guide. Now, a beginner's guide is, I don't know, it's probably 10 episodes in itself. But, I did write a beginner's guide on my website that I will put onto our website when we finally build it. And it's really long. There's a lot to it. So today I decided to just go over some basic stuff, mainly with regards to progression in the early game, and also looking at player level versus enemy level, because it's a little bit confusing when you first start out the game. So in particular, I wanted to have a look at quests and missions and what the hell you should be doing at the start of the game. So I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that when you're early in Warframe, you really just want to unlock as many planets as you can. So you want to go from node to junction, unlocking the planets and moving through as quick as you can so that you've got access to resources and things like that. Doing so will give you certain access to different weapon blueprints. So the Furious is available from Earth to Venus, I think. Venus to Mars, I think. Venus to Mercury, you get the Boltor. I think, or it could be Earth to Mars, whatever. So you get different things like that, but you also start to get quests. And this is where people probably start to think to themselves, well, what's a quest? And what's a mission? What are the nodes on Earth or nodes on whatever planet versus this quest thing? So essentially, the nodes on the planet are really just the way that you can progress through the game. They're missions that you can do in your own time, but they have nothing to do with the story. They have a relation to the story because, each of these quests is something that's happening on that planet for a specific reason, and there is a specific faction involved that you need to go in and do something specific that's explained as part of that mission. But really all they are is a way for you to progress through the planets and unlock different things and get from place to place. With regards to quests are really the story and the lore behind the game. So even the first quest that you do, the training quest, which is called Vor's Prize, is your introduction to the game. It's introduction to the gameplay mechanics, but it also tells a little bit of a story about the Grenier Admiral at first, called Admiral Vor, who, as a result of his ineptitude, is bumped down to captain status at the end of that. So he becomes Captain Vor as a result of what he tries to do. And it goes over a little bit of lore stuff. It explains that, you are essentially a machine or a biomechanical machine, and you can be controlled by someone else, which is what he's trying to do. So these quests give you a whole bunch of information about the game, and it's really how you progress and you unlock certain things by progressing through the quests. Certain quests will be the core storyline of the game. So, of course, there's Vor's Prize, there's Once Awake, A Man of Few Words. I can't remember exactly how they all go, but eventually you'll progress on until you get to Natar. And you get to the Second Dream and the War Within. And these are the main story quests. Aside from those quests, there's also Warframe quests. There's Limbo Theorem. It gives you some lore, not only behind Limbo, but also some general lore behind the world of Warframe. But it also allows you to unlock Limbo. There's Octavia's Anthem. Clearly unlocks Octavia for you, but also tells you some of the stories behind the Cephalon, and one Cephalon in particular. Actually, it goes into a little bit about Cephalon Cimaris and a little bit about Cephalon Suda. A lot about Cephalon Suda, I should say. The Chains of Harrow is an interesting one because not only is it a quest that unlocks Harrow, the Warframe, but it's also very closely tied to and considered by many to be part of the main storyline. In fact, I would say it is part of the main storyline because you need to have completed the Chains of Harrow before you can do the sacrifice. So realistically, the quests are going to tell you the story of the game, but they're also going to unlock abilities. So a lot of the time we'll talk about spoilers in these episodes. The reason we don't want to talk about spoilers is not so much because the story is new and we don't want to ruin it for certain people. Some of this story is 2 or 3 years old. A lot of it's known. If you've been playing Warframe now for over a month, you probably know about the operators. You've probably heard about them. But the story of who you are, where you come from, all of that is really cool. And it's a really interesting twist as to what happens within the game. Who's good, who's bad. And that's the part that we don't really want to spoil, because the surprise is what makes it so much better. So doing the story is going to give you those surprises, but it'll also give you certain abilities and access to certain abilities that you didn't know you had. So early in the game, you should be doing your missions, getting through as quick as you can. But as soon as you unlock those quests, you should also be doing those. Some of those quests are actually junction requirements. So I think you need to do once a week before you can get to Phobos or Mars, one of the two. You need to do the second dream, for example, before you can get to Neptune or Uranus. Neptune. So these quests are important to your progression, as well as being important to being able to get abilities, being able to compete at the end game. Of course, the War Within, for example, unlocks a hell of a lot of the game. So once you've done the War Within, it unlocks the ability to do Kuva missions. It unlocks, the Kuva Fortress, of course. It unlocks sorties. It unlocks all sorts of things. So your goal realistically should be to get to the War Within as soon as possible, but you want to enjoy everything as well. So what are missions and what are quests? Missions are those little things you can do every day to just sort of get through things. Quests are separate to the missions, often are separate nodes that are only active while you're doing the mission. And then they disappear once you've finished the quest. Some of them can be repeated. They'll give you story. They'll give you abilities and things like that. Everything is worthwhile doing. Have I unlocked every single mission node on the star map? Not yet. So I think I've got around 10 left. But there's something like 250 in total. So there's heaps of missions in this game. It's ridiculous. So that's quests and missions. Hopefully I gave a good explanation without rambling too much. Anything else on quests and missions, Lucas?
No, that sounded pretty good. You covered everything good.
So the only other thing that sort of factors into this is enemy level. So there's so many different levels in this game. We went into mastery level and things a couple of weeks ago. When you look at a mission, it will tell you what the enemy level is within that mission. So early in the game, it might say 6 to 10 or something like that, 5 to 10, which just means that the enemies in there are low level. Does that mean anything when you look at your Warframe level? No, it's got nothing to do with your Warframe level. It's got nothing to do with your mastery level. In fact, it's got nothing to do with you as a player at all. The enemy level refers only to the ways that enemies scale. How do you know how powerful they are? You don't really, especially early in the game. You don't know when you look at something. If it says enemy level 20, you don't know what that means to you, and you sort of just have to experience it to understand. So the only thing you can do is keep plowing through those missions, and eventually you'll get to a point where you go, enemy level 15 and above is probably a bit hard for me. And then you need to think about what you need to do to change, to improve. So how do you take on those higher level enemies? It's all to do with modding and making yourself more powerful and more effective through your use of mods. So your player level and the enemy level are completely unrelated, but the enemy level does refer to the scaling of everything: their shield, their armor, their health level, the damage that they do against you, the amount of affinity you can get from them. It all scales with the enemy level number. Okay, so keep all of that in mind because it's got nothing to do with your mastery level. If you're mastery level 5, you can still take on everything up to, 100 and beyond enemy level, as long as you've built your frames and your weapons right. So keep that in mind. Anything else there, Lucas?
Nope. I think you actually covered everything quite well. So well done.
All right, so that is everything that I wanted to cover for the beginners topic this week. Hopefully that helped some of you newer players. Let's look at the advanced stuff. And again, I haven't used this preface in a while, but I should probably continue to do it. We are not telling you that this is the way you should do things. We're not telling you that this is even worthwhile. We're just giving you some tips that maybe you didn't know about the game from our perspective. So what's your advanced topic this week, Lucas?
Okay, so I obviously quite enjoy doing these kind of things. So what I'm doing this time around is I'm doing a three-part thing, and it's all going to be based around farming after the Silver Grove quest line. So I'm going to be looking at mostly the apothecs, each of the 3 different apothecs, how to acquire the materials for them, where to get those materials from, what they summon when you return to the Silver Grove, and what you can acquire from these summonings. So this week I'm going to be talking about the Sunrise Apothec. So all 3 apothecs can be acquired via the Silver Grove questline. I'm not going to go into any details about it, no spoilers. But the Sunrise Apothec it requires Sunlight Jade Leaf, and only 2 of them. So this is quite useful, as they can only be found on Earth nodes, Earth Grenier Forest nodes, during the day. Now, how the day and night cycle works on Earth normally outside of Plains of Eidolon is, I believe it was every 4 hours the night and day cycle changes over, so it can be a big pain in the ass having to wait for the required time. So if you get the opportunity, find these plants and scan them by a truckload. And that's another thing. You have to actually scan these plants to acquire them as a material. So that's the Sunlight Jade Leaf. Next is the Frost Leaf, which you need 8 of, and these can be found on any frozen corpus tile set. And essentially they're just found around cliffs. Mostly around cliffs, and you'll usually find them in bulk, so probably 6 or 7 at a time, maybe more if you're lucky, but they're a lot easier to find in comparison to the Sunlight Jade Leaves. And thirdly, you need 12 Veston Moss. Now, Veston Moss can only be found on Grenier Asteroid tile sets, and they're usually found in shadowy areas. So look under staircases, look in those dark little crags off to the edge of the map that you don't usually go anywhere near. They're fairly easy to find, especially if you have a scanner equipped. You just go first person view with the scanner equipped, look around the room, and you should see them pulsating with their glow, so they're easy to find. So once you've got those, there's a couple of credits you have to throw in, a couple of morphics as well, all the easy materials essentially, and that creates your Sunrise Apothec. Next, you want to try and find the Silver Grove tile set. And I don't exactly know what the percentage of finding the tile set is. It can be a bit of a pain in the ass. I think it's easier if you do have an apothec equipped in your gear wheel. But if you end up finding the Silver Grove, you take the apothec up to the altar and you bless the altar with it. And this one in particular will summon the Feyarch Spectre. Now, the Feyarch Spectre actually takes on the form of Oberon in his deluxe Feyarch skin. So this is pretty cool. Is you basically have to fight a deluxe skinned Oberon. Now he has abilities much like the normal Oberon does, but there's a bit of a twist with his abilities. Now that I noticed when I was doing research for this. So he has his first ability, Smite. He has Hallowed Ground. He has Reckoning, but his fourth ability is Tornado. So that's a bit of a twist. They've given Zephyr's fourth ability to the Fayark Spectre. Just kind of throws you for a bit of a loop, and a bit of a change up in mechanics. But just treat them like a normal enemy. They're not incredibly difficult to take down. Especially once you should have reached this point in the game, they should be fairly easy to just kill. I think the hardest part of this entire thing will be collecting the different plant scannings. But he drops some pretty nice rewards. In fact, he actually drops 2 aura mods and 2 stance mods. So first off, I'm going to talk about Shotgun Amp, which he drops. Now this is the most common mod you can get from him. It has a 51% drop rate, and it's pretty basic. It just increases the shotgun damage. I think it was by 25%. So not that shotguns need any more power, but if you really want to give shotguns more power, there it is. Next up is the Final Harbinger melee stance. Now this is actually for a sword and shield. I guess it's kind of fitting since the Fayark Spectre actually wields the Fayark skinned sword and shield. So that's fantastic. And this has a 36% drop rate. So it's always good to have new different stances to muck around with. And I'm pretty sure the Final Harbinger is the one I use for all my sword and shield weapons. So definitely worth farming to get your hands on. Go for it. It's great. Now, I'm going to skip ahead to the last reward before I go on about the one I really want to talk about. So the last reward you can get from him has a 6% drop rate, and it is also a weapon stance, and it is called High Noon. Now, this weapon stance is usable on the gun blades. I personally think there are not enough gun blades in the game, but other people may disagree. I love the gun blades, and I think getting a stance for them is definitely worth it because there are only 2 in the game. There are only 2 different stances, and they're both very difficult to get. So I don't actually know where the other one is acquired from. I'll have to do some research on it. But High Noon is acquired from the Fayark Spectre.
Interesting. Thanks for that, because I don't have that. Yay.
Yeah. It's great. It's a great stance. I'm pretty sure this one actually has a bit of a shield throw halfway through the combo. So yeah, just if you want to feel a bit like Captain America, get your Final Harbinger. It's great. Now, the mod I actually want to talk about. There are only 2 rare, so golden. There's only 2 golden aura mods available in Warframe at this current point in time, and one of them is acquired through this Spectre, and it is Empowered Blades, which also shares the same drop rate as High Noon at 6%. Now, I don't have this, and I quite desperately want it. On a charge attack, you get a plus 60% boost to stat chance and stat damage at the cost of 90 shield. I think that's amazing, especially with the Melee 3.0 changes coming in. If you wanted to run something very shield heavy like Haro, using his first ability, just smash out that chains and stack up that shield as much as possible. And then just go ham on the enemies with slam attacks. With this aura equipped, you could deal mass status. So
Yeah, damn.
I think that's definitely going to be something worth investing time into. So yeah, my theory is this: with if I give you guys the information, maybe it will make me want to do the farming as well. So it's a bit of a motivational one. So yeah, I'll probably definitely be going for a bit of farming for this mod. So you got anything to add there, Greg?
Not really. I did want to say that from my perspective, the Vest and Moss was probably the hardest one to get because it can often be really small on the rocks. Sometimes it's a big splotch, and sometimes it's tiny, and sometimes it's hiding in weird places. It was a real pain in the ass. But none of them are too hard to really farm for when you've got to build those silly apothics. So yeah,
It's more just tedious.
yeah, it is. That's all it is. It's a pain in the ass farm, but it's not that hard. But the Vest and Moss, from my perspective, is the most difficult. But yeah, no, there's a few mods that dropped there that I didn't know that's where they came from, especially that last one you were talking about. So that's super cool.
Oh yeah.
Alrighty, so you'll be continuing the Silver Grove stuff over the next couple of weeks because there are 3 apothics that come out of there.
Three apothics. So next week, I believe I will be talking about the Dusk apothic. I think.
Okay, no worries.
Or,
Twilight,
yeah, possibly.
Yeah, okay.
Twilight, maybe Twilight. I think is the third one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. So are we looking forward to that? Because I know there is one particular mod that comes from, I think it's from Twilight, that I really want, but we'll get there. All right. Next, we have a community call out, and the community call out is from Andrew from the Discord. He had some leveling advice. Lucas, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, well, this is actually a continuation from last week's Cephalon cookie callouts. So thank you, Andrew, so much for your contribution. We really do appreciate it. So the advice that Andrew actually gave us this week was, as Greg mentioned, directed at leveling up amps. And he mentioned that if you do spy missions with the amps, when you actually accomplish a spy node, you actually get a massive affinity withdrawal from it. So that can actually be used quite effectively to level up your amps very quickly. So again, thank you, Andrew, for that piece of advice. Really do appreciate it. And I hope that helps out a lot of people out there struggling to level up their amps, because I know it can be pretty difficult. Well, not so much difficult, but tedious.
It can be, because you don't necessarily use it a lot unless you're doing a lot of eidolon hunting and things like that. So, and it's actually good advice in general if you want, even if you want to level up, say, melee weapons or whatever, doing spy missions, because especially if you unlock the vaults without alarms, you get a massive boost in affinity. So it is a very good tip. Thank you, Andrew. Hat tip. All right. And I do want to say thank you to all of our listeners, as always. We are really appreciative of all of you, because something that we thought would be worthwhile seems to be worthwhile to a lot of other people as well. So we really appreciate it. It blows our mind that we are getting this attention from people. So please do reach out to us for whatever you like. We've had people reach out to us just to say that they like the show and keep up the good work. Or we've had people reach out to us for many other reasons. Keep in mind that we do the community guest stars. We haven't done that in a few weeks. That can be absolutely anyone that listens to us. It's not anyone in particular. If you're listening right now and you think, you know what, I wouldn't mind being on the show and talking a little bit about Warframe, hit us up. anywhere you like. So there's a number of different ways that you can get in contact with us. Of course, there's the Facebook page and the Facebook group, which is now called Cephalon Collective. Get in contact with us there on the Facebook page. You can send us a message directly that's just between us two. You can say whatever you'd like to say. Give us a tip, give us a suggestion, give us some feedback on the show, whatever you want to do. Get in contact with us via Facebook. Of course, we've got Twitter at Cephalon Squared, all one word. Hit us up there, retweet us, enter our competition. We have Discord. Now, Discord is much harder for us to share. So we've got the link to our Discord on Facebook and Twitter. We did have someone asking, Wade, during the week, asked on our Facebook group, what the hell is Discord? Well, Discord is essentially... It's Slack. If you've heard of Slack, Slack is for businesses. So it's just a way for people in a business to communicate about different projects. It's the same kind of thing. It's essentially a chat platform, but just for like-minded people to talk about a specific thing within a single place. But you can create different rooms to talk about different topics. You can have bots that provide different utilities. Discord is a really, really useful thing, especially for PC players, because it can also provide voice chat. So Discord is a really, really interesting thing for gamers. And if you want to check it out, come join our group. We're a really nice bunch. Everyone's really friendly there. We will help you understand what Discord is, and hopefully you might come to like it. So find our link on Twitter and Facebook. Join us there. You can send us an email at cephalonsquared@gmail.com if you like. There's YouTube, which I still have to update. And of course, you can send us voice messages via Anchor if that's what you want to do. Otherwise, if you are enjoying the show, please give us a rating on iTunes or whatnot, and let other people know that you think it might be worthwhile to listen to. Apart from that, my name is Greg Newbegin. I am Cephalon Greg. I am also Mad Capsules on Twitter. That is me. Lucas, plug yourself, go.
I am Lucas. You can find me on Twitter, Silverlight, SILVRLGHT. And thank you again, everyone. We really do appreciate your support, and we always look forward to hearing from our listeners.
Yeah, exactly. It is an exciting thing when it does happen. And thanks to Jan at disco_box on Twitter for the intro and outro. We do have a couple of other things that we're working on in the future with a couple of other people who we will shout out on the show, of course, when the time comes. But thank you very much for listening to episode 9, and we look forward to speaking with you again next week when we hit the big 10.
Double digits.
Exactly.
Exciting.
Thanks again, and bye-bye. See you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Cephalon Squared. If you'd like to contact us, send an email to cephalonsquared@gmail.com or get in touch via Twitter or Facebook. You can also join our Discord or send us a voice message via the Anchor app. See you next week.
The podcast you just heard was published with Anchor. Got something you want to say to the creator of this show? Send them a voice message using the Anchor app, free for iOS and Android.